Hello, Messiah Lutheran Church. I know that you are scared. If we're to pretend that we weren't scared, we'd just be deceiving ourselves. The truth wouldn't be in us. But if we confess that we have doubts and worries and concerns in this time, God, who is faithful and just, He forgives our doubts. And more than that, He leads us in what it means to give ourselves for the sake of others and for the sake of His work in this world. It's no coincidence that God gave us the topic of fear to wrestle with during this season of Lent. Who knew that our country would be asking such dramatic changes to our lives? But I hope you see this as an opportunity. There are two things that this world needs that you have to offer. Some of you have been trained in this since birth. You know what it means to pray, to connect with God and help others reconnect with God. And you know what it means to sacrifice. You are the salt of the earth, which God is using in the world right now to lead people out of fear and into hope. Jesus said we do not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. We need these human connections in order to live. We can live so long without water or food, but very little time, seconds without hope. This is going to be a time in our country's history where people are looking to reconnect with God. And you have an opportunity to invite them into that worship in a new way. And that starts with you deciding as a family to worship together every morning, every Sunday morning at 9:30. We're going to be providing an opportunity to do that online together as a large church family. You can write comments, reconnect in different ways. There'll be instructions on how to do that in a letter that you receive. It starts with you deciding as a family to worship together and to worship with your larger church. There are people that are going to be looking for hope. And you can connect to them, point them to the right information. When there's so many other voices out there distracting and causing fear, you have the ability to point people to the one who's still in control. In a time when we think worship might be lost or it's changing in so many ways, we actually have the opportunity to increase the impact of our prayer and our worship as others are looking to reconnect with God. It's also a time in our nation where we're being asked to make sacrifices. You know how to make a sacrifice. Social distancing can be done in a lot of different ways. On the one side, there's that temptation to kind of socially isolate, become a hermit. And on the other is the hard work of staying connected. I invite you to stay connected. Find ways to do that. When Jesus said that He is the bread of life, at the same time He was talking about not needing more to survive than just food, He was saying we need interactions, human connection, albeit 6 feet apart. Those human connections have become so much more precious. I invite you to use those opportunities to be that shining presence of God. Resist the temptation to get sucked into negative conversations. Point toward hope. Point toward the things that you enjoy about life. Point to the trust that you have in God. In a time when we're hoarding toilet paper in order to keep a sense of security, perhaps the biggest sacrifice is continuing to be generous. Your church has paid out its benevolence early to community charities because they are going to be the ones most in need. And I invite you to continue to keep giving to your church, but now you have to do it electronically. The best way to do that is through an ACH, a direct deposit from your church, from your bank to the church. That has the least amount of fees. I want to remind you, church has not been canceled. God is once again redispersing His people back out into the communities that we live in. Check in on your neighbors. Find new ways to connect with people. Make those phone calls that you've been putting off for a long time. And make the commitment to worship as a family and invite others to see what God is doing through your church by what we're doing online. Remember, you are that presence of God. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. Amen.